A good Saturday evening to you, Mizzou basketball fans, and welcome into the first ever NCAA tournament edition of PowerMizzou.com's Basline View, brought to you by the Bruning Law Firm. Before we get started with the show, the Bruning Law Firm is a personal injury firm who helps people who are injured due to the negligence of others, started by a father and his two sons, oddly enough. The Brunings, all former Mizzou grads. The Bruning Law Firm treats their clients like family, helping them recover and get the compensation they deserve. The Bruning Law Firm is your Missouri law firm. You can reach out to them through their website at bruninglegal.com. They are sponsoring all of Power Mizzou's NCAA basketball tournament coverage this year, which certainly all of you guys hope extends beyond, say, 8:45 this evening. Missouri in the NCAA tournament for the first time in 3 years, the second time in 8, and looking to win a game for the first time in the NCAA tournament in 4,019 days. Yes, 4,019 days. Missouri's last NCAA tournament win, a 76-68 win over Clemson. Marcus Denman and Kim English were sophomores. Mike Anderson was the head coach. It's been a minute. Now, you want some good news? Here are the teams who ended longer droughts in the tournament last night. Oregon State hadn't won one since, I believe, 1982. Rutgers hadn't won one since 1983. Oklahoma State hadn't won one since 2009. North Texas had never won one. Oral Roberts, I believe, was 1974. So this is a tournament where teams that haven't won much lately are winning. Missouri is going to attempt to be the next team to do that. The Tigers making their 28th all-time NCAA tournament appearance. In 14 of the previous 27, Missouri's been one and done. They've won 22 games all time, obviously lost 27 because they've never won an NCAA tournament championship. So 22 and 27 all time. Oddly enough, in 8 of those 28 tournament appearances, Missouri has been on the 8-9 line, folks. This is the 8th time. In the previous 7, Missouri is 2-5. So maybe not the best history there. Missouri in its last 4 tournaments has been one and done. Again, 2010 was the last win. They beat Clemson. They lost in the next round. Mike Anderson took them back the next year. They lost to Cincinnati in the opening round. He was off to Arkansas. Frank Haith took over. The game which shall not be named it's going to be named because theoretically, if Missouri wins tonight, the opponent in that game could be its opponent on Monday. Then in 2013, Missouri lost to Colorado State. 5 years later, it lost to Florida State. And tonight is the latest incarnation of Missouri in the NCAA basketball tournament. One of the later games, which I actually think sets up well for you guys. You've got a day and a half to enjoy the tournament before you have to stress out about your team in it. And that's always fun because you don't want to be a Virginia Tech fan. The first game on this year, Friday, usually Thursday, and you lose it, then the rest of the first weekend sucks for you. Well, this is the best sporting event there is. This is truly my favorite sporting event of any of them. And we didn't get it last year. This has been a phenomenal tournament so far. I mean, yesterday, 5 double-digit seeds won. The lower seed in 16 games yesterday was 6-10. I don't have those numbers handy right now because I have been actually at Missouri spring football practice for most of the day today. But let's just run through what's happened today. 6 seed USC about to finish off Drake. 2 seed Alabama beat Iona by 13. 3 seed Kansas beat Eastern Washington by 9, although Eastern Washington led that game for a long time. 4 seed Florida State beat UNC Greensboro by 10. 5 seed Creighton held off. 12 seed UC Santa Barbara. 5 seed Colorado destroyed Georgetown. 8 seed LSU beat St. Bonaventure. 1 seed Michigan beat Texas Southern. So today, so far, the higher seed has won every game. That was not obviously the case yesterday. So the higher seed now, after winning, 7 or 8 games today, is something like 17-6 in this tournament. Missouri, the lower seed, but really, are they the lower seed? And actually, I saw a deal today. They are now favored by a point. This opened at Oklahoma -2. The newsiest thing that has happened this week is that Oklahoma guard Devion Harmon, Oklahoma's second leading scorer, isn't playing in this game. He tested positive for COVID when the Sooners got to Indianapolis on Monday night. He's out. He's out if they play Monday night. But that's the equivalent of Xavier Pinson not playing in this game for Missouri. I can tell you, if Xavier Pinson was not playing in this game for Missouri, not very many Missouri fans would feel very good about it, right? You guys would think it would be a pretty negative deal if Pinson wasn't playing. That's what's happened to Oklahoma. These two teams, guys, they are absolute mirror images, and we're going to let you hear. I've got a variety of interviews from earlier in the week. We've got Konzo and Drew Smith from Missouri. We've got Austin Reeves and Lon Kruger from Oklahoma. Now, those are all pretty long. We've only got about 45, 50 minutes here. Tip-off actually 49 minutes from now, so we're not going to play all of those. We are going to play some of them, some of a little bit of it for you. I'll probably duck into the beginning of Lon Kruger, maybe a little bit of Konzo Martin. We're going to try to check in with Mitchell Forty from Lucas Oil Stadium. He should be getting set at the stadium right now. For the tournament, media is far different this year. Usually you can go, you can hang out all day, you can watch every game there. That's not the case this year. It wasn't allowed in the building till an hour before tip-off. Has to be out of the building 45 minutes after the game ends. So a little bit different. So if we can get Mitch from Lucas Oil Stadium, we're certainly going to do that. No promises. Again, we'll let you hear from some of the participants as we can, but mostly we want to take your comments. We want to take your questions. We want to talk about in this one what you guys want to talk about. So we're going to do that here shortly. I will get to the comments. A couple of things. First of all, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel while you're here. It helps visibility. If you spread the word about our YouTube channel, what we're doing here, that's good. We've done this all year long. We will do it as long as Missouri is alive in this tournament. That means at least tonight, maybe Monday night. Who knows? Weird things happen in the NCAA tournament, maybe beyond that. But appreciate all of you guys who have been here since the start, and a lot of you who have been here really all year long. And one of those people is Case. He says, I'm nervous about this one. Look, man, it's the tournament. You should be nervous. Gonzaga fans are nervous right now, right? Alabama fans were nervous. That's the tournament. You lose, this is it. There is no tomorrow. It is incredibly sudden, and 67 of the 68 teams are going to end with a bad feeling, whether that is tonight, whether that is, I guess it'll be 2 weeks from Monday night in the national title game. 67 of the 68 teams go home feeling bad. So that's what this tournament is. It is the greatest sporting event there is, and I'm going to be honest, guys. I didn't watch very much college basketball this year. College basketball is a sport. It's getting harder. The regular season kind of sucks. It's kind of meaningless. But this is still great. I sat down in front of my TV at 11:15 yesterday morning. I made it all the way till, 10:15, 10:30 last night. I did not see the end of the last – I didn't see the second half of the last set of games, but saw a lot of really good basketball yesterday. And it just reminded you, things like North Texas winning its first NCAA tournament game ever can happen, right? Things like Oral Roberts upsetting one of the top 8 teams in the country can happen. This game, and we think it's going to be close, right? We think it's going to be a toss-up. It's an 8-9 game. These teams mirror each other. They both have a senior guard who transferred from a Missouri Valley school leading them. They both have some unbelievable wins. I want to put back up that information. Look, Missouri has beaten Oregon, a 7-seed, Illinois, 1-seed, Alabama, a 2-seed. They beat Tennessee, which was a 5-seed. They beat Arkansas, which was a 3-seed. They've also got some sketchy losses. Oklahoma beat West Virginia, 3 seed. Kansas, 3 seed. Texas, 3 seed. Bama, 2 seed. They also lost to Kansas State. Missouri's lost 6-9. You guys have been pretty down on this team for the last 3 weeks, and it's been understandable why you have been. The only high major team, the only team, because if you're not a high major team, you couldn't have been playing poorly and gotten in this. Only team in this tournament playing, in my opinion, unquestionably worse than Missouri is Oklahoma. They've lost 5 out of 6 since February 1st. They have one win over a team not named Iowa State. Iowa State went 2-22 and fired its coach. So, Oklahoma ain't coming into this thing on a high note. Brandon, appreciate the super chat, man. Appreciate you being here. And you mentioned the post-game stream, and I do want to tell you guys, we will be here after Missouri's game tonight on the dance class, brought to you by Burger Smokehouse. The time is, we're shooting for 9 o'clock. This game starts at 6:25. NCAA tournament games typically last a little bit longer because timeouts are longer and commercials are longer, all that. So they typically go a little bit longer than the 2 hours. The post game could be a little bit slower to go and could be a little bit longer with Konzo. So I'm going to shoot for 9 o'clock. It may be a little bit after. It's possible it could be a little bit before, but just that's why you subscribe to the channel. You set a reminder when we go live. You will get an alert on your phone, whether it's 8:45, 9:15, whatever it is. You can get a reminder when we go live. You'll get an alert so you can jump on when that show starts. And we will be here, whatever happens tonight, to break it down. I hope a lot of you guys, it's Saturday night, nothing free or nothing pressing. You're just going to be sitting around watching some basketball. Maybe you really want to watch Gonzaga play Norfolk State for 40 minutes. I imagine it's going to take you about 4 minutes to get pretty tired of that game. But join us back here tonight after the game for breaking down Mizzou basketball on the dance class. So, Carson, welcome in. Game time, it's pretty close, man. It's 43 minutes away. Again, this game is on TNT. You can flip around a little bit, but I'm sure you want TNT to be the main screen you've got. Nick says, I feel like Mark Smith will either make or break us tonight. He could. He has lately, to be honest. 3 games in a row, Mark Smith's led Missouri in field goal attempts. That can't happen, guys. He's not had a good year. This team should go as far in the NCAA tournament as Drew Smith, Xavier Pinson, and Jeremiah Tillman will take it. Now, if Mark Smith goes off, if he has a really good game, if he hits 6 threes or something, yes, he can carry Missouri. He's the one guy outside of that top 3 who you would look at and say he could have an outsized impact on this game. But he can't go 3 for 14 tonight. If he's not shooting the ball well, somebody's got to tell him to stop. Whether it's Konzo taking him out, whether it's Pinson or Drew Smith saying, hey, come on, man, do something else, whether it's Mark realizing himself, whatever. But Mark Smith can't go lead the team in shots and shoot 25% tonight. Missouri will lose that game if he does. So in that sense, you're right. Mark Smith will make or break them. But also, that said, I think sometimes we try to outthink ourselves on this, right? We go into games and say, who's the guy that normally isn't maybe a major factor who we think is going to be a major factor tonight? And sometimes that's the case. Sometimes there's some guy you didn't think was going to be the guy that ends up being the guy. But also, it's usually the best players who show up at NCAA tournament time. It's usually Max Asmus scoring 29 for Oral Roberts if Oral Roberts is going to win a game. It's usually the brothers from Eastern Washington. It's usually David McCormick and Marcus Garrett like it was for Kansas. It's usually not a huge surprise. I mean, a huge surprise may hit one shot or make one play. But as far as being the reason the team moves on to the next round, let's be honest. The reason is usually the best players on the team. So for Missouri, I think that is Pinson, Drew Smith, Jeremiah Tillman. For Oklahoma, I think it's Austin Reeves and Brady Manick. And this one, Manick and Tillman, to me, is the matchup. Now, Drew Smith's Missouri's leading scorer. Austin Reeves is Oklahoma's leading scorer. More of Oklahoma's offense goes through Austin Reeves than Missouri's does through Drew Smith. But I just think they're kind of going to cancel each other out. And it's Tillman and Brady Manick, and the reason is because they're such different players. Brady Manick is a three-point shooter. Last time Missouri played Oklahoma, which actually wasn't that long ago, it was 2019. It was November in Kansas City. Brady Manick played 33 minutes. He scored 17 points on 4 of 9 from three-point range. Now, Brady Manick is a big dude. Like, he's 6'8", 6'9", but he's not a post player. He's an outside shooter. And what happened in that game was he hit a bunch of threes early. If I remember, like 3 of them were in the first 8 to 10 minutes. And that pulled Jeremiah Tillman away from the basket. Tillman got in a little bit of foul trouble in that game, ended up playing 26 minutes. He only had 3 fouls, but only played 26 minutes, 13 and 5. Just wasn't a major factor in that game because he wasn't playing his game. But on the other side of the court is where I think Jeremiah Tillman has got to be Missouri's guy here. I mean, he's got to touch the ball every single possession. And I forget which game it was in the SEC tournament, if it was after the Georgia game or the Arkansas game. Xavier Pinson was on the post-game Zoom, and he said, you know, sometimes it gets a little boring and it seems a little repetitive, but we've got to throw the ball to Jeremiah on every possession. We've got to. He's got to touch the ball. He's got to be in there because when we do that, we're a better offensive team. That is never, ever going to be more true than tonight. Jeremiah Tillman, if he's playing well and if Missouri plays through him, can go off in this game. He can be the reason Missouri gets to Monday night. But Missouri's got to make that commitment, and Tillman's got to, step up, and it's got to be good Jeremiah. I don't think Missouri can advance with bad Jeremiah Tillman tonight. They've gotten bad Jeremiah Tillman or no Jeremiah Tillman in a few games recently. He's got to get back to playing the way he was playing earlier in this season. Ron wants to know, who do you anticipate will come out with an edge early tonight? Look, I'd love to tell you I have any idea. I don't know. I mean, we have no idea, right? These teams haven't played for a week. It is an all-or-nothing game. Oklahoma's been here before. You would think, I think there's a chance maybe Missouri comes out pressing a little bit because Jeremiah Tillman's the only guy on Missouri's roster who has ever played in an NCAA tournament game. And that was the first one in 4 years. And if you remember, that started terribly. I mean, Florida State was boat racing Missouri in the first half of that game. Missouri made a little bit of a run in the second half, made it respectable, but never really had a chance to win that game. So I could see Missouri with a little bit of nerves, a little bit of pressing, all that. Now, Konzo certainly has told them, hey, it's just basketball. You've done this 1,000 times. That's been his message all week. But you could see a little bit of pressing early. So, hey, if Missouri doesn't start out great, that's okay. I saw a stat yesterday, like midway through the day, every team that had led by double digits ended up losing the game. So it's okay if they don't jump out great. But you don't want to see this Missouri team bury itself in like a 22-5 hole like it did against Tennessee at home, because I just don't think it's good enough offensively to come back from that. So I don't think Missouri has to lead at halftime, but Missouri has to be like within arm's reach at halftime. You can't be down 15, 20 points at halftime and win this game. Todd Julian says it would be great if Pinson went off for 30 tonight. Look, it'd be great if anybody went off for 30 tonight. No question. Stryker, the only thing he's nervous about is running out of beer. It's a fair concern. I think maybe you should be a little bit more concerned about the game, but that's your call, man. Drink enough and maybe you won't care. Okay, now Mitch Sharp brings up an excellent point. Have you noticed how much better the officiating has been during the tournament compared to SEC officials? And now, to be fair, again, there's no such thing as SEC officials. Technically, yes, we tend to see some of the same officials. Some work more SEC games than other games, but technically, they're not SEC officials. But to your point, this happens every year. You get to the tournament and you go, hey, this is good basketball. Like, we're not getting 27 whistles. I was watching a game yesterday. There were 3 fouls at the under 4 timeout in the first half total. They let them play a little bit more. And now, look, I say that, and we're going to run into the one game where there's 46 fouls called. It happens in the NCAA tournament, but it doesn't happen much. You see a little bit more freedom of play. It's better basketball. You would think that would be a good thing for Missouri. because they do tend to foul some. Oklahoma, they don't foul much. They do two things really well. They don't turn the ball over much. 15.6 turnover percentage means they turn the ball over on 15.6% of their possessions. It's 26th in the country. They foul very little. I can't remember the exact number, but Oklahoma does not foul a lot. So on one hand, that means Missouri's got to run offense and got to get its own points offensively because Oklahoma's not giving them a lot of easy points on turnovers or on free throws. But on the other hand, also, the officiating might not change a lot for OU. They don't foul a lot anyway. Missouri tends to hack some dudes. So maybe the game being officiated a little bit more loosely, letting them play a little bit, maybe that helps Jeremiah Tillman. Maybe it helps Drew Smith. Because the one concern, Drew Smith said on the Zoom call earlier this week, Austin Reeves is really good at drawing fouls. The one concern I would have in that matchup, and I expect Drew Smith to draw the defensive assignment on Austin Reeves, is that Drew at times gets in a little bit of foul trouble. So, that's something that you want to watch a little bit. And I think if he gets two, Konzo's got to yank him off Austin Reeves. Now, I'm also interested to see if somebody does get two in the first half, what Konzo does. Because he almost exclusively pulls that guy off the floor. His two-foul playing percentages is among the lowest in the country. You can do that with Mark Smith or Javon Pickett or Kobe Brown. You can't do that tonight with Drew Smith or X Pinson, and I'm not sure you can do it with Tillman either. I mean, this is it. This game has to be coached differently than the previous 25 have this year. You've got to let your guys play a little bit. And if that means trusting them with two fouls 10 minutes into the game, then to me, that's what it means. Nick's asking if Tillman can guard Manic. Yeah, that's a good kind of – we talked about that matchup. But you could see a little bit more Mitchell Smith on Manic. Maybe Kobe Brown. I don't know if Kobe Brown's the type of guy that can go out there. It'll be interesting to see what Missouri does defensively on Manic. If Tillman's getting taken advantage of and Manic's going out top and either making threes or going around him, then you might have to switch off. You might see a little bit more Mitch Smith, maybe Parker Brown, but I would think more Mitch Smith because he's a much better defensive player. But that'll be an interesting matchup to watch. So, hey, we got about 10 minutes before we're going to check in with Mitchell Forty. So, I'm kind of back and forth. Some of you guys may have seen some of this stuff, but most of you are Missouri fans, I assume, and have been reading and watching our stuff from Missouri. So I'd rather let you hear from Oklahoma. I'm going to play you a few minutes of Lon Kruger's press conference. Now, understand, this is from Wednesday, so it's a little bit older, but let you hear from the OU head coach for a few minutes before we check in Indy.
Of production guys recently. How do you feel about the way he stands entering this tournament, and just how important is he to what y'all need to do offensively?
Yeah, ironic. First question, Davion tested positive.
Okay, well.
Yeah, so we'll be without Davion. Just going through a year. He's had a great year, made tremendous progress. Players, have this as a goal to play in the NCAA tournament. And it is so sad for Davion, just heartbroken that he's not going to have that opportunity this first weekend. So he challenged our guys to go win a couple, I guess, so he can get back for the second weekend. But a lot of work ahead for that, for sure. But yeah, just disappointed for Davion that he won't be with us.
Well, given that, how do you replace that production? How does that change your plan going into the Missouri game, and how is he handling that news?
Well, he's disappointed, of course, and yet he's in quarantine now, so no one sees him, or that's another tough 10, 11 days for him as well. But as we've done on other occasions, other guys have to step up. We've had 2 or 3 other occasions where we've been without players, and guys have needed to respond, and they get it. It's COVID, and we've got that challenge again before us for Saturday. Missouri is very good, and we've got other guys step up and replace Davion's minutes and points and rebounds and all that.
Do you know who you're going to start in that spot yet?
No, for sure. No, it'll be a combination of Landis and Jalen Hill, and Victor needs to get some minutes. Probably that those guys coming off the bench.
Appreciate it, Lon.
Yep. Thank you.
Next, we'll go to Eric Bailey of the Tulsa World.
On kind of following up on that, what day did Davion test positive? Was it as soon as you arrived, or was it one of the first tests?
It was. You tested when we landed Monday evening. Then we got the results back Tuesday. Then they, in Davion's case, they'll retest in case it was a false positive. It wasn't. And so we really found out yesterday that he'll definitely not be with us.
I wanted to ask you also about Drew Smith, just his ability for Missouri to control a game, both offensively and defensively. What are your thoughts on him? And can you just talk about the matchup, him and Austin, both are team leaders, and kind of guide their teams?
Yeah, he's terrific. Drew Smith is a guy that can score in a lot of different ways, shooting the ball well. He gets to the paint, good defender, looks like a terrific leader for them. A lot of similarities, I guess, as he compared him, Drew, with Austin. Both really good players and both really big keys for the ball club.
And lastly, just how close is your team to playing a 40-minute game? You kind of emphasize valuing every possession all year long. How big is that in this game?
Hey, come tournament time, everything's magnified a little bit, and it's certainly big in this occasion. We've not had the 40 minutes that we want to have. This will be a good time for it. We've had good stretches in ball games offensively. Other stretches where we haven't been as consistently good. So we've got a lot of work to do in terms of focus and locking in and really treating each possession like it's the most important one.
And Pro Day.
All right, so there were a few minutes of Lon Kruger for you guys. We are now going to Indianapolis, Lucas Oil Stadium, where Mitchell Forty is watching a basketball game in a very small part of a huge football stadium, I assume.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I mean, it's, they have two courts set up, so this is even, I'm looking at in front of me, about a third of the field probably, but it is still a massive venue, obviously, built for football. A lot of space around the floor. It's kind of weird. I've never watched a football or basketball game in a football stadium in person before, so it's kind of neat.
So there's like two courts there, but they're only playing on one at a time, correct?
Correct. Yeah, there's another game here. So they played one game on the other court already. I think it was the Creighton game. Now this is the only game on this north court today, and then they'll play another one on the south court later.
Okay, so both teams, I assume, out there for warm-ups already. I know Devion Harmon obviously not playing. Everybody else that you expect to be there is there?
Yeah, I counted everyone else. I obviously identified all of the Mizzou players. I know what they look like. I don't exactly know what every Oklahoma player looks like without a jersey, but I counted 13 players, and that's what they've got listed on the roster. So
yeah,
obviously no Harmon, but other than that, it looks like no one else caught it, so they should be good to go otherwise.
And, hey, we'd love to be able to spend the show telling people what's going to happen and all that. I mean, God knows with either of these two teams, but also, like, I know Konzo spent his entire week telling the team, hey, it's just basketball, all that, but I think Missouri could come out pressing a little bit in this game because this is a big deal to Missouri. This hadn't happened for any of these guys except Jeremiah Tillman.
Right, yeah, that's what I was going to say. Let's face it, they haven't been here before. Only Jeremiah Tillman has been here before. So, yeah, you definitely wonder about the jitters. Obviously, playing in a unique environment. It's a huge stadium. So, you could definitely see some of that. Certainly, you could see it on Oklahoma's part, too. It'll just be a matter of how long it kind of takes to settle in.
Yeah, one thing, and we won't keep you too long. I know you're going to eat and cover the game, but one thing somebody brought up, and I noticed it yesterday watching games, officials are letting these guys play. I mean, the tournament, you're not seeing tournament games with 42 fouls. Oklahoma doesn't foul much anyway. Does that help Missouri, you think?
I kind of think it does. And obviously it could go both ways. But Konzo brought that up this week, too. He said one of the big unknowns for tournament play is what officiating crew do you get and how are they going to call the game? So, assuming they do kind of let guys play, I think that maybe helps because Missouri's got probably its two most important players have been foul prone. Jeremiah Tillman has been foul prone a little bit lately, as well as obviously earlier in his career. And Drew Smith, who's going to probably be guarding Austin Reeves, he's capable of getting in foul trouble, and Reeves is good at drawing fouls. So obviously having those two guys out there the whole time would be huge. But also Missouri, a big part of their game is getting to the free throw line. So that puts a little more onus, I think, on executing in the half court.
Breaking news. I don't know if you guys have seen this there yet. VCU Oregon is a no contest. Oregon through to the second round because VCU has COVID.
Well, that's good that it's not Oregon having COVID for me because I have Oregon in my Elite Eight.
Well, and that's the important thing, right? But, I mean,
Right, obvious.
look, like we did with football season, I mean, this literally can change at any time. I mean, who knows? Be happy when you get a game in and hope you get the next one in, I guess.
Exactly. I mean, look, I'm just now comfortable saying this game is going to happen because the teams are literally warming up right in front of me. But until then, you never know.
All right, so last thing for you. Biggest sign Missouri will win, biggest sign Missouri's in trouble if it happens tonight.
I think the biggest key is kind of winning the battle of the fives, of the two centers, because they play such different styles. If Jeremiah Tillman's able to be effective down low, I don't think Oklahoma can keep Brady Manick on him, and they go to their backup five, and that hurts their ability to spread the floor, which is what they like to do on offense. On the other hand, if Brady Manick knocks down free threes and Jeremiah Tillman gets in trouble on the perimeter, you might have to put in Mitchell Smith at the five, and then Missouri's offense isn't as good as it was. So I think whichever of those two guys has the better game will be huge. And then, this is kind of a cop-out, but just whoever executes better down the stretch, because I think this is going to be a close game. And we've seen both of these two teams do well in those situations and struggle in those situations. So those are kind of my two keys.
You think there's any chance that Mitchell Smith plays a little bit more than usual to get the Manic matchup, but maybe he and Tillman play together? Could we see more him and less Kobe Brown?
That's possible, but then who's Tillman guarding? If Mitchell Smith is on Manic,
Right.
then Tillman's still on a perimeter-oriented guy. So I mean, maybe a little bit more, but I'd be surprised if unless like I said, Manic gets going and Tillman's struggling with it. I feel like they're going to want to have him on the floor as much as possible.
Well, I fully expect 40 minutes of zone from Konzo. It's very on brand. So
That would certainly be a surprise.
all right, man. Well, appreciate it. Enjoy the game. We'll talk to you afterwards.
Yeah, sounds great.
All right, have a good one. Mitchell Forty from Indianapolis. We're glad to be able to have somebody there for you guys. The truth is, only five media outlets from every team are allowed to cover this tournament, so we're pretty happy we are one of them, and I'm glad Mitch was able to do that and make the trip. And terrible news about the VCU Oregon game. You never want to see that happen. Appreciate Matt Anderson in the comments letting us know that. And again, Missouri and Oklahoma are on the floor, so certainly everybody is expecting them to play. So Concept Check brings up an interesting one. I'm old enough to remember when Missouri played Oklahoma in the 2002 tournament. So am I, and that was I think that was the same year maybe that they played Oklahoma in the Big 12 title game, and Oklahoma won that game 49-47. Then Missouri was a 12 seed. They beat who'd they beat? Ohio State. I forget if it was Miami. I think it was Miami in the opener, Ohio State in the second round, and then they beat UCLA in the Sweet 16 because UCLA had upset one seed, I believe Cincinnati. So Missouri beat the 8 seed in round 3. And then played Oklahoma in the Elite Eight. Oklahoma beat them and went on, obviously, to the Final Four with Kelvin Sampson. But, yeah, Clarence Gilbert, as Mike Benning says, I think he was 1 for 13 in that game maybe. And Arthur Johnson had a rough day from the free throw line, and OU ended up winning that game. Missouri would get back to the Elite Eight 7 years later under Mike Anderson. Got beat in that one by eventual national champion Connecticut. Obviously hasn't been back since. So Missouri's starting the path tonight. We'll deal with round 2 if Missouri gets there, but just want to point out the oddity of a Missouri fan cheering for Norfolk State. And you should be. I get why you are. It's much better if Norfolk State wins this game, right? Against Gonzaga. That one tips off that's in the 8:50 time slot or something like that. Norfolk and Gonzaga, there's not much chance of that. Obviously, there's a 99.98% chance Missouri, if it wins tonight, is playing Gonzaga. And look, you deal with that. Whatever. It's fine. I mean, hey, you're going to have to beat good teams in this tournament at some point. Might as well go in a house money game on Monday night. But the key, obviously, is just get there. Again, more than 4,000 days. It's been 11 years since Missouri won a game. Now, we can – tonight, I think is everything for this team and this season in this program. If Missouri loses this game, you're going to look and go 16-10. We used to be number 10 in the country, 9 seed, lost in the tournament, fell apart. What's next year? I'm not sure. You're not going to feel great, and I get it, and you shouldn't feel great. But if they win this game, I mean, it's clear progress. It's something they haven't done in 11 years. You're one of the last 32 teams standing, minimum. I mean, that's huge, right? And I'm not saying it makes the season an out-and-out success. If you were to do that and then go get your brains beat in Monday night, I understand some might feel still a little bit. It might not be an A season. I think it probably would be, but I'm not sure. But it would be a solid B+ season, maybe A- season. If you win this game and compete on Monday night, even if you don't win, I think it probably is an A season. But if you lose tonight, look, I understand everybody's going to feel hollow. And that's the difference between like an A and a B-, C+, to be quite honest with you. So, roll through. T-Rise is here. Mike Benning says Clarence was 1 of 16 from the field in that game. Pocket Watch stopping by to check on the NCAA tournament, as is the Canoe Man. Appreciate you guys being over here and taking on the other Tigers that you have adopted most of this year. Grayson wants somebody to hold him. I don't know where you're located, Grayson. I'm not going to do it. But we've got nice people in here that hang out with us. Maybe they will. If we win, I don't care if we lose against Gonzaga. I just want to win tonight. And that's the way you have to view this tournament. Now, look, once you get to Monday night, yeah, you're going to want to win the game. But you got to get to Monday night first. Real quick, we're going to let you hear from Konzo again in a couple minutes. We've just got about 10, 15 minutes left here because I want to make sure to get out, and not only for me to see tip-off, but for all of you guys to see tip-off. Real quick, before we check in and listen to a little bit of Konzo earlier in the week, want to once again thank the Bruning Law Firm up there in the right-hand corner of your screen. I think it's right. Yeah. Right-hand corner of your screen is their logo. They are sponsoring all of our NCAA tournament coverage this year. That includes this show. Everything Mitchell 40 is writing from there, post-game video, all that. You can check them out at bruninglegal.com, BRUNING legal.com. And Bruning Legal is a personal injury firm in St. Louis. They help people injured due to the negligence of others, started by a father and his 2 sons, all of whom are Mizzou grads. They treat their clients like family, helping them recover and get the compensation they deserve. Bruning Law Firm is your Missouri law firm. And also, by the way, I might mention PowerMizzou.com subscribers. So friends of the show, friends of the site, friends of the university. So look, we, as I said when we had a legal sponsor in football season, we do not want you guys to need legal help. But if you do need legal help, if you are injured and you want to consult someone about it, go to bruninglegal.com. Find a phone number, do the live chat on their site, whatever. Get in touch with them. They will take care of you. Once again, the Bruning Law Firm, thanks to them for making all of this possible here in the NCAA tournament. So what we're going to do, I'm going to play a few minutes of Konzo Martin for you guys, then I'll come back, kind of wrap things up, take your questions, comments, and we will get set for tip-off, which is now just 17 minutes away.
Martin from here in Indy. So as we do, I'll let Coach get started with an opening statement for NCAA, and then we'll get going with questions.
Certainly excited to be here. We had our first practice here in Indy yesterday, and I thought it was a great one. Good energy, excitement, good execution. And I thought the guys had some fun with it, so that's always good to see. So yeah, ready to go.
Steven?
Hey, Quadro, Steve Warner from the AP here. I got a wacky question for you. Everybody knows the One Shining Moment song. I'm curious, have you used it at all as kind of a motivation or inspiration for your players at all?
We've used it before, of course, but not every word of the song. But it said, "Well, the ball is tipped, and there you are." Now I'll give you the rest of it later. So, yeah, they've heard that. We've showed them different versions of the NCAA tournaments. Yeah, so they've seen it before.
Thank you.
Konzo, this is obviously not a normal situation you guys are in with the way the tournament's being played this year. You mentioned practice yesterday was fun. Kind of what's the overall tone and feel as you all navigate your way through this not so normal situation?
Well, you know, the thing for our guys, I think it's normal because it's our first time, you know, so to speak. A lot of guys first time. So it's not as if we 3 or 4 years a guy's been in a program was 3 straight years and all of a sudden, man, this is different. You know, the difference is just the bubble, so to speak, not being able to go to and from outside of the hotel where everybody's just, everything you do is just monitored and somebody have to show you around. You want to go to the next place, you have to be able to, somebody to open the doors to let you in. So basically everything is within the hotel and it's not bad at all. I mean, for us, I think you have a lot of time to get stuff done because you don't have all the other stuff that go with it. I mean, it's just you're in your room. We were quarantined for about a day and a half, so everything was in your room until you passed the 2 tests. So, but it hadn't been bad for us. I don't think so. Now you have to ask the players to be something different, possibly.
Dave Madden.
Konzo, obviously you want to win every game you play, but just getting a win in the NCAA tournament, one thing this program hasn't done in a long time. What would it mean? Is just a sign of progress for Mizzou?
Oh, certainly. It would mean just that one, you beat an opponent because that's what you play the game for, to win the game first and foremost. Then for our program, the next step is to win the NCAA tournament game. Then you do the next things. And there's always, you know, people talk about process, and I do believe there's a process to everything you do. And sometimes you can get lucky and skip some steps, and you might pay for them down the road. But I think there's a process, there's steps to it. Our guys understand that. They're hungry to get on the floor. Sometimes you wish you can play the game tomorrow, but this time off is good for our guys just to be around each other again and have a peace of mind because, you know, the pressures overseas and the anxiety and all this stuff that goes with it, sometimes just to relax, have a peace of mind and get back on the floor and go with some of the things that you do, day-to-day stuff. So I think it'll be big for us.
All right, so I wanted to cut Konzo off there because I think he said something that everybody should listen to. He said, sometimes it's a process. Sometimes you can skip some steps and get lucky, but you pay for it down the road. That wasn't an accident he said that, guys. He wasn't talking about somebody else. I think he was talking about his own team, his own program. Missouri skipped steps in year 1. Got Michael and Jonte and put together this top 5 class, and they skipped everything. In year 1, they were in the tournament, and that set people up to think, hey, we're back. Well, they weren't because everybody left there. I mean, not everybody, but Mike was gone. And you didn't get that much out of him to begin with. Cassius, who was a grad transfer, who was brought in because they knew they had a chance to be really good in year 1. Like, make no mistake, Missouri went for it in year 1. They pushed all the chips in. Cassius Robertson, gone. Jordan Barnett, gone. Jonte Porter hurt the next year. So all of a sudden, this rebuild that people thought was done was back to kind of where it was before Konzo got here. Not quite, because you did have Javon Pickett and Jeremiah Tillman. You ended up bringing in Mark Smith, but he was talking about his own program. They got lucky, and they skipped some steps in year 1. And these last 3 years have been about really what probably under normal circumstances would have happened the second he got here. And so they paid the price for that a little bit the last 2 years, right? Well, now they're back in the tournament. And now they see what happens. And, hey, it is what everybody plays for. It's, again, I've had a ton of fun watching this thing the last couple days. There have been some phenomenal days watching Missouri in the NCAA tournament. I always point to that Memphis game. I remember when they beat Michael Finley in Wisconsin in 94. I think they might have beat Lawrence Moten in Syracuse that same year in the next round before they lost to Arizona. They've lost a couple to Syracuse, too. There have been some terrible, terrible moments. Tyus Edney tops everybody's list. Norfolk's right there. You know, Northern Iowa is my personal, outside of Tyus Edney, is my personal, oof, that one was rough. So, hey, it's what this tournament is, though. It's either the greatest feeling ever or the worst feeling ever. And you guys are going to feel one of those two things here in about 2 hours and 25 minutes, probably. I don't know which one it's going to be. I think Missouri wins this game because they have all their guys. But, hey, Oklahoma's – I mean, these teams are mirror images. They're right there. Is it going to be a shock to anybody if a Missouri team that's been inconsistent all year doesn't play very well? No. Is it going to be a shock to anybody if an Oklahoma team that has been inconsistent all year doesn't play very well? Also, probably no. We don't know what to expect out of these teams. But here's the one thing I'm gonna end with about this game. Gonzaga is a great team, one of the best teams we've seen in the last few years. 26-0. I'm not sure anybody's coming within double digits of them. I mean, they have beaten a lot of really good teams. Beat Kansas, they beat Iowa, they beat Virginia, and they beat them all pretty badly. But Missouri has beaten a team on that level. In fact, they've beaten two. Beat Illinois and Alabama. Oklahoma beat a team on that level in Alabama. It's not out of the question that the winner of this game at least makes Gonzaga sweat. Makes them nervous in the second half. I'm not going to say either one of these teams pulls the upset, and neither one of these teams is thinking about, obviously, that game at this point in time. But I don't think either one of these teams should just think, hey, let's win one game and be happy. Because that's not what you're playing for. You're playing to be playing next weekend. And we'll see how it goes. I'm not going to predict either of these teams are. I picked Gonzaga to win the national title in my bracket. I'm just saying, tonight's very important. Winning tonight is the big deal. And one of these teams is going to do that and feel okay about itself. The other one's going to look back and say, man, I feel like we really blew an opportunity. So a couple things before we wrap up. Once again, the Bruning law firm, bruninglegal.com. Check them out. And we got a little testimonial for them from Burn & Jones Construction here in the comments. So appreciate that. So, yeah, check out bruninglegal.com if you find yourself in some trouble. Like, man, what if you get in a fight tonight after the game because you're mad and you feel like you probably ought to sue the other guy? I'm not advocating any of that. Just saying, if something bad happens, bruninglegal.com. The other thing is to remind you post-game what is going to happen. So tip-off in 8 minutes. The game is once again on TNT. I do not know what channel that is for you guys. I would assume you would have found it by now. The tournament's been going on for like 32 hours or something like that. So TNT. We anticipate this will take about 2 hours and 15 minutes, which means 8:40-ish. Game's going to be over. Hope to be on a Zoom with Konzo and a Missouri player or two 10 minutes after that and be able to be here at 9 o'clock tonight. But that's just a guideline. Like, subscribe to the channel, set a reminder for when we go live. You will get an alert on your phone or your laptop or your tablet, whatever, when we go live. I will get on the Zoom call with Missouri. I'll record that video. We'll come back. We'll play Konzo's post game, good or bad, and then we will open up the phone lines, and we will either be breaking down, hey, Gonzaga Norfolk State on Monday night or the end of the season. And we'll see how it goes. But appreciate all you guys hanging out here with me pregame leading up to this. Tip-off in 7 minutes, so I'm going to let you all get to it. I'm going to go get to it. We'll see you here after the game. Thanks for joining me here on the Basline View. Maybe the last one. Maybe we'll do it again. We'll see.